Hello and welcome to the Honest Football Podcast Ramble. Yes, they're back, and this time you can see us doing these rambles. I'm Craig Savage, and with me is Mr. Daniel Coe, who's joined me in the predictions of the Championship, and Mr. Charlie Betts is back. You wanted him back, we got him back. Charlie, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be back, even though it's probably a shambles, which rhymes with the word ramble, which is what we're doing this evening.
Yeah, it's the first ramble in probably way before probably back in 2019 is the last time we've done a ramble, and we have progressed since then with Championship predictions. They seem to be our favourite, and some interviews that you, Daniel Cody, and Charlie Betts have also done. But we're just going to talk absolute nonsense for a good hour. We're going to have a couple of quizzes, a guest to find there back in. Daniel, what quiz you got?
I'm bringing back You're the Ref for the first time in again since the pandemic.
Nicely worded there, by the way, as well, actually, to avoid legal ramifications. But yes, well played.
Lovely apostrophe.
So let's start off with obviously what's been happening this year. So we did this Christmas special, really. We're going to have no Christmas theme whatsoever. But Daniel, you've been to a couple of games of the season. How good is it to be back in Luton again?
Well, actually, you've ended up coincidentally segueing beautifully, because the first thing I was going to mention was obviously for the large part of last year, we couldn't go to a game. The last game I went to before the pandemic made it even worse, because it was Wigan 0, Luton 0 in the north of England, which was, I kid you not, one of the worst games of football I've seen. No shot on target for the first 88 minutes. What a lovely way to finish off for 18 months. We went to Northampton Derby just before that, didn't we, Craig? Which was just as bad.
Yeah, it was horrendous.
And Charlie got out of that one. But we went to a thriller just before that, which was Watford Tranmere, obviously the first massive success on the channel, I guess. But after 18 months, near enough, it was good to be back. And I was going to highlight it as my favourite moment of the year, being back for Luton Peterborough with a full house in August this year. A convincing win obviously helped too, and the emergence of Fred Onyedinma as a new signing. And then a couple of months later, our first game back together, which I think is the perfect way to start this, because St Albans v Forest Green basically picked up where Watford v Tranmere left off.
Yeah, absolutely. And FA Cup first round, Sunday night, BBC Two, and all Joy can think about was the drone.
That drone. I mean, I'll be honest. You lads obviously went to a couple of games more than me. I think the last one might have been Watford, if not before that, and then the next one was St Albans. So for me, it was like 19, 20 months maybe. But the drone, I get they want the picture shots, but without going into the details, obviously, I think it might be Remembrance Sunday or in and around that sort of date.
Yeah.
And all you could hear was when everyone was doing the minute silence, was this horrendous drone sort of buzzing away. And I just thought, just send it over. I mean, we were obviously put it over Harpenden or somewhere for 5 minutes and then bring it back. Do you know what I mean? You didn't need to. Why have it above the ground? It wasn't even going to be a shot. But no, do you know what? There were some amazing things that happened there, which I'm sure we'll get onto. I'm just going to get the one negative out of the way, which is Adrian Durham pretending he was there when he was there and he wasn't there. But to put that in context, Adrian Durham actually ended up turning up in the 60th minute, kept tweeting throughout the whole half an hour that he was there at the game, and they made out as if he was doing his bit for non-league football. And I reckon the combined 30 minutes if he was actually there, probably watched the game for all 6 minutes, because the rest of it was on his phone. So Adrian Durham, you're not a non-league football fan, but thank you very much.
Lovely to see you pick up where you left off, just slacking TalkSport off. It's been 18 months, hasn't it?
No, but it just, I'm not going into it again. But yeah, he claimed to watch the game, but I can assure you he didn't. But anyway, on to other matters of that day.
Can I bring one up? And it's going to be one that Craig absolutely hates. Charlie, when we entered and we found the Youth Academy Tea Hut, possibly the greatest catering ever seen in a football ground?
Absolutely. And that leads me nicely onto an investigation I've got later on in the show. So I'll keep that as a tantalising teaser for you. But yes, I think if memory serves me correct, it was, what would you call it? Like a chocolate chip shortbread slab, wasn't it? Almost for 50p. And and it probably was that big-ish. Well, that's probably a fair assessment, wasn't it? So 2 of them and 2 hot chocolates, I think it was less than a £5, wasn't it, for 2? Which, considering, that was their biggest day of the season, obviously in terms of the gate and all of that, they'd have been well within their rights to overcharge. But yeah, I've never had such a treat so good for such a value for money in a football round before.
I think that epitomes of being at a non-league ground, and obviously fans during the pandemic could go to a non-league ground when there were games going on, but obviously missed out on like catering and that stuff. And I think having that brought that atmosphere around, obviously being at a non-league ground and an FA Cup day against a Football League competition, brought that real nostalgia back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, like, it was quite nice, but it was even being stood up, because you don't get to do that even in Football League grounds now, for obvious reasons. I get the whole, I get the reasons for it, but even just being stood up, something quite nice and quite nostalgic, like you say. And it sounds silly, but just whichever end St Albans were shooting at were most like there was a sort of you could just see them like ants almost, all the fans trying to get behind that goal. And then at half time, all of those lads who were behind that goal then tried to make their way around to the others. You just don't get that in Football League grounds for obvious reasons, but it's quite nice actually, because then you have to think, right, you've got the halftime dash of where you're going to watch the second half. And, you know, I think that's all part of the fun and part of the enjoyment of it, as well as obviously the refreshments that are available as well.
And the crucial question for you, Craig, from the day, as you're the man who is actually the football connoisseur rather than worrying about food and everything else, is which of the two views did you like best? Because we were behind the goal first half directly. And then the second half, we were just sort of towards the side of the corner flag looking across the pitch. Which did you prefer?
There's no, when it comes to non-league ground, there's no bad end. I was quite happy with either, to be fair. So obviously behind the goal where the goal St Albans keeper was in the first half, yeah, it was good. It was good to see the where the goals were scored in the first half for St Albans, see the crowd go absolutely mental in that, and then seeing the third goal go in and the celebrating right in front of us. Unfortunately, the TV camera was right in our way, but
I didn't mention him.
He was literally looking at his bets, I think. But it was nice to see. Obviously, they're celebrating right in front of us. We're never going to get TV, but I thought it was an excellent game. It's not about, obviously not about the food, but it's about the FA Cup, about the atmosphere. It's St Albans' biggest game of the season, and they thoroughly deserve to win on the night. And I'm glad we were part of another cup upset.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes when you watch it on TV, and, you know, I think it's great the BBC chose that game, even though we could probably moan about their FA Cup picks since then. But anyway, that aside, I think it was, it just made me laugh that the cameramen, I think was it West Ham were playing Liverpool? There was a couple of, you know, big Premier League games on that day. And the cameraman, unless the ball was anywhere near him, literally was on his phone checking the football score. And you sort of thought, this is their one day out. Do you know what I mean? In terms of particularly the players of St Albans, because the likelihood of them playing on national TV, you know, it was so slim, isn't it? You know, and it just felt like all he was bothered about was looking at his phone until the ball was somewhere near him. And I think he only gauged that by our reaction, who was stood right next to him, because we would start to get excited. And then he'd quickly run around again with his camera and get ready and try and jump in before. But yeah, and then he got the money shot really at the end, didn't he? So, you know, I suppose it worked out well for him in that sense.
Would you say he got the money shot, or I got the money shot with the pitch invasion right at the end?
Well, you did the most genius thing, if I'm honest, Craig, was that we didn't invade the pitch, and actually by doing that, you then got the best view of the whole thing. I think obviously, you know, people, especially those who followed the club all season, an amazing moment for them. But they all dashed onto the pitch. But actually, you got such a great shot of it. And we were meant to do a vlog that day, but for various health reasons, we didn't. And I think it was...
I was hungover.
Basically that. But actually, it turned out to be the best thing for us, because, I mean, the views on that were ridiculous, weren't they? For a couple of minutes worth of footage, really. So it was a stroke of genius, albeit whether you meant it or not.
And I would just argue, Charlie, that it would be a bit of a stretch to say that all of those fans who invaded the pitch have been following St Albans all season. No, there were a good couple of thousand there, and their gates aren't that high. But they had a great start to the season till then, and have barely won a game since, which is not good, is it?
The goalkeeper's towel got nicked. That didn't help.
And then he got injured the next game, didn't he? And they had an outfield player in goal for 2/3. So that's the magic of the FA Cup.
Dan, you've obviously been to more Luton games, and you've been to other games as well. You went to Salford versus Chesterfield in the FA Cup second round. Obviously, I presume you prefer the first round compared to the second round.
Well, the first round was great because for us it was local. We were all able to go. You knew it was going to be a full house, a big atmosphere. It was going to be the underdog at home. Whereas Salford Chesterfield, I know I'm obviously 2 for 2 for seeing non-league teams shock Football League teams, but I don't think there was much of a shock in that. Chesterfield, top of the National League. They played Salford off the park for large parts, to be honest. Salford had one quick lad in behind, but everything else was Chesterfield dominated. I've got to say, the Chesterfield fans behind the goal in that game did not stop. It was an incredible atmosphere in the away end. But going back to the showbiz part, we had the ITV4 cameras right in front of us, where Kevin Davis, Danny Webber, and Seema Jaswal was presenting. It was so showbiz. Like, as soon, you know they make that impression, and fair play on the BBC, they stayed out. But you know that impression they give that, we're right pitch side, we're out, we're in the thick of the action. As soon as the game kicked off, I kid you not, there were about 10 steps up to a little makeshift box, and they were in there. They were getting coffees, teas, hot water bottles delivered. It was unexpected. I thought, look, there were loads of seats in front of us. Just come and sit and watch the game. But that was the only
Kevin
bit
Davis was better than that.
Yeah, it was the bit that disappointed me, to be honest. But Chesterfield were brilliant, and we're 2 for 2 on shocks as a podcast.
Would it be 3 for 3 with Luton Harrogate?
Well, I hope not. And to be honest, because I'm trying to do the 92, obviously, that weekend I did 3 in 3 days. I'm trying to find a way to get to one of the other ones, like a Chelsea Chesterfield. I mean, I'd love to go Kidderminster Reading, but that's going to be impossible. But I don't know. There weren't really many great draws in terms of home teams from the lower leagues, were there?
Is Chelsea Chesterfield the same day? Is that a Saturday 3 o'clock?
So I think Chelsea Chesterfield is the Saturday. There's a couple on a Sunday, but I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a great attendance at Luton Harrogate, nor a great atmosphere.
What did you think about the TV picks and all of that? Because obviously, in terms of the exposure, I know you've been talking about going to the games, but maybe for other people who can't go.
On a serious note, lads, I think it's just the fact that because it was great that all of it was coming back to free to air this year with BBC and ITV, but they don't ever get to show the top teams in any other competition. And that shows because West Ham Leeds wouldn't have been picked by BT because they've got a Premier League game every week. But for ITV and BBC, it's their only chance to show 2 Premier League teams with big followings. Whereas a Kidderminster Reading, I mean, how that's not picked, 6th tier at home to 2nd, I'll never know. The others I can understand to an extent because the smaller teams away from home, but Kidderminster Reading for me is a disgrace. And I don't think it even got picked for international TV after that.
No, I don't think it did. And obviously we send messages out, obviously who's doing what the draw is, and obviously we try and pick out what the TV picks from that. And I think it's obviously first round, second round, you're like, okay, this could be this high, this could be. When it comes to third round onwards, it's too obvious. It's always going to be the big teams. It's always going to be like your top 6, and potentially if it's a really good tie, like a non-league versus a Premier League team in a non-league team being at home, then yeah, that will probably be on TV. But it's a weird one because like Luton Harrogate, you could potentially see that could be a potential banana skin, and that's been picked at international broadcast on a Sunday 12:30 kickoff. And that's obviously not fair on Harrogate fans. It's their big day out, really, and honestly, yeah, it's Luton Town, but it's that they haven't really played a championship side before. So, and considering 2 seasons ago they were in National League, and a couple of seasons before that they were in National League North. So it's a massive day out for them, and I feel like the fans have been spoiled by having come from Yorkshire down to Luton for a 12:30 kickoff on a Sunday. The worrying fact is at the moment the Omicron virus is going wild at the moment, and we might potentially not have fans in the ground again.
Let's hope not. I mean,
I hope not. I want fans in the ground as much as anything. I think that it's been an absolute dream having fans back in grounds, and noise is back in there. Good to have banter back with away fans, and soaking the atmosphere again. Being back at Kenilworth Road, it felt right. Than watching it on iFollow, and we all criticise iFollow over the whole season, last season and a half. But going to the ground itself is so much better, and you do miss it.
Yeah, and even in the away, and like when we went to Blackpool last weekend, it was minus God knows what. The sea was basically hitting you in the face, but it was worth it when you then win 3-0 and the home fans are slagging off the corner taker, but then the header goes in at the back post and it's 1-0 on the stroke of half time. I mean, I know it's a neutral game and we're not Premier League, but being in the away end at Everton when Arsenal let in that last minute winner was just about my favourite moment of the season.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Because I had to stay silent, but there was so much I wanted to say at that moment because it was coming. But they're the moments that you can't replace from live sport. I know it's happened in other sports recently, not mentioning F1 and other things like that, but there's moments that live sport, it just can't be replaced in anything else in life.
And now it's time for our first quiz of this show. It's Guess the Fine. Guess the Fine is back. Obviously, we've done a playlist on YouTube last year and a half, and we're bringing it back. And today, the league is a Step 3 and 4 league. It's a big league. It is the Isthmian League, based in the southeast of England. You've got teams like Bognor Regis, that Daniel Cody done for FM back in the day. Cheshunt, obviously, that's very local to us in Hertfordshire. Leatherhead, another big team. Jimmy Bullard used to manage Leatherhead. Currently top of the table at the time of recording, it's Worthing. I will tell you now, guys, there is a minimum and a maximum.
Ooh.
So I will need both. I'm going to give you 10 fines. And we'll start off with the first one. And it is submitting a registration form without a player's signature. I'm going to start with Charlie in this one.
Well, I don't want to say I wasn't... I know that I said that I never used to play PES 2 and I didn't, but I have actually listened to a few of our previous episodes just to gauge.
We said you do that.
But I've got to say, that's not going to help me because this fine didn't come up in any of them. So no, but it's always the admin side of it that actually gets more. So I think this is going to be a higher one because the actual playing side always gets forgotten about when it comes to fines.
Well,
So
Charlie, I do remember you've been signed on without actually having your signature.
I did. That was actually, that's true, actually, yeah. But Craig, let's be honest, I signed on for so many teams that I could have done it and not even remembered it was that many. So that aside, I'm going to go big because it's in the southeast. I think you've got teams from London and stuff, so there's going to be a bit of dollars there. So I'm going to go for £45 to £60.
Mr. Daniel Cody.
Well, Charlie's brought up an interesting point, which is we're talking about the sort of Kents of the world, the Sussex, quite an affluent area, largely even Hertfordshire, I guess, to an extent. So I'm thinking higher, but I think Charlie's gone quite low for step 3 to 4. I'd be tempted. And again, we're trying to work out what the ranges are. I was going to go for a much bigger range than that because, you know, there's so many discrepancies. And is there a signature? At what point was it the registration submitted? So I'm going for a broader one. I think it's going to be 50 to 100.
Wow. The minimum is £25 and the maximum is 100.
Oh, that's huge. That is a huge range.
Very huge.
Because the signature's there or not there, but there's so many differences. Half a signature, illegible signature, who knows?
It's a squiggle. It's the squiggle.
Is it her signature? Is it the player's signature? Then the I don't know, secretary signature and the chairman's one and
4 lines, 25 a line, yeah?
But surely it's either there or not. Oh, ridiculous, isn't it?
I think some players go, yeah, just sign me on and then I'll do.
I used to get so irate by these, and this is coming back so quickly already. Because it's either there or not, isn't it?
And that was number 1. We've still got 9 more to go.
Right.
Anyway, next one is failure to use a board for the subs in a match.
Oh, this came up a few times, I remember.
It
I don't
did.
remember the price.
I'll start with you, Codes.
I think this is going to be lower because, as Charlie says, the admin things are always the biggest. I'm trying to think at that level. We're talking sort of FA Trophy teams. We're talking teams that could potentially have TV highlights later on in that tournament. But I'm still going lower. The old favourite I seem to remember was 15 to 60. And look, I know it's something that can have a minimum and maximum anyway. Like Charlie says, I don't know. You've either got the board with you or you haven't. But I'm going to go 15 to 60 because I think there'll be something stupid in there.
Charlie?
I can see Dan's logic, especially about the TV and stuff. And I've got a sneaky suspicion these boards might be sponsored, which means if there's a sponsor on there, then they're going to be throwing a bit more out. So it can't be the same as the previous one, but I think 50 to 125.
50 to £200.
How can you have 150 quid discrepancy between the two there? Like, is it per number? Like every number you miss off or something like that? Or
how many of the bulbs are out?
per LED.
It depends on the number of the substitute that's coming on, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get a shirt printed. It's per letter and number. Speaking
of sponsors, failure to wear official sleeve logos in a match.
Oh, that would be huge.
I mean, a beautiful segue. But failure to wear what? Official
sleeve logo. So the Isthmian League, the pitching in the logo will probably be here.
But they're not going to. This is like the level they're still going to have like pretty much 1 or 2 sets of kit. So, I mean, how does this even happen? Because it's not like it's not like the Premier League. You get so many 100 shirts a year. Oh, this is such a stupid fine. The range is going to be huge. 10 to 200 quid. Honestly,
this is why we wanted you back. This is what we missed.
Go on.
I'm not sure. I think it will be a slightly less of a range than Charlie has gone for because I think he's just lost his head.
Well, Charlie's gone for a huge range.
I'm going because the last one was 50 to 200. The sleeve is probably less important than the scoreboard to the sponsor, so I'll go half, 25 to 100.
Well, if you read the previous answer, that would be the correct answer to this one. It is 50 to £200.
Oh,
in this one. Okay, number four. Okay, failure to allow filming at the ground. Codes.
I think that'll be quite big, but not as big as not having a sponsor because the sponsor is everything in terms of finance and revenue. But most teams now, they can show their games on their local, like YouTubes or whatever, can't they? Anywhere below the National League North and South or from there. I'm going to go for, I'll do what I did last time, 25 to 100. I think Charlie? It might be bigger though.
He's nicked it, and I think we're starting to see what the set ranges are. But again, it's a simple, like, it's that what I'm finding strange is these are binary fines. It's either there or not there. But I'm going to have to then go for the other one. I'm going to have to go 50 to 200 because I think it seems to be one of the two answers at the minute, which I'm going for the video being a good way to market themselves. So 50 to 200 quid.
Nowhere near, guys. Nowhere near. 250 to £1,000. Which
that's a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot for a club that. Can I film your game? No. Give me £1,000. Give me £1,000. Hey,
where does that voice come from?
You're gonna get some. No, I won't go that far. I was going to be rude there. Anyway, next up, there's one that Charlie really likes: failure to play a full strength team.
I mean, we spoke about this before at this level. How can you define a full strength?
To quantify that in non-league football is insanity.
If a team's got like COVID problems, but they still field a team, probably it might be the reserves. Does that count as not a full strength side?
It can't. This fine can't be used since the pandemic started. Surely.
I'd love to see if any team's been done for this.
It's astonishing if they are.
It can't have been used before either. I mean, at that level, how do you define a full strength team? Because even if they've been playing in reserves, you don't know what they're doing in, it's not like, I mean, they check the football manager stats and go, actually, no, he's definitely not one of the starters. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? It's ridiculous.
I've actually done this before. Not obviously me as a manager, as a player, we've done this before. Final game of the season, the first team and the reserves team swapped. So the reserve team played as the first team, and the first team played as the reserve team. So, and nothing got done by that.
How much did you get fined out of interest? No, I'll go for. It's got to be one of the three answers we've had. It can't be the big one. 25 to 100 because I don't think it's a fine they're going to get that often.
Codes.
I'm going to go in between what we've had so far. I'm going to say another old one that used to pop up: 75 to 300.
£50 to £500.
500.
So the ranges are all over the place at the moment. I'll be brutally honest.
Yeah, there's no consistency.
I was going to say with the ranges, like the top range was step 3 and the other one was step 4, but that's too wide of a gap to be that. So God knows what the ranges are. Is that just if you've got one player out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 10?
I suppose I can see a certain amount of logic to that. The other ones are just ridiculous.
Right. This is a new one. We haven't used. Failure to have a defibrillator available at home games.
That should be big now.
Yeah, that should be, surely. I mean, that's such an important part.
How can that be a range?
We can't. I'm not going to joke about this one because it's very, very important. Obviously, we know what's happened over in the past. Well, basically, the last 6-7 months, really, of how important a defibrillator is at a football ground. But I'll give you. I'll give you a clue. That's a Grimsby thing. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot lower than filming at a ground.
Lower than that.
Well, that tells you where the priorities are between commercial and actually player safety, which should be the top one, shouldn't it? On a serious note,
your turn now.
I would go 25 to 100 because I think it's going to be ridiculously low.
I was going to go for that, so he's left me with 50 to 200. If it's 50 to 300, we so annoyed.
100 to £500. I can accept that because that is very important, but to be less than probably potentially filming at a ground, is it? I find it mind-boggling. Anyway, 4 to go. Named substitute not registered, but not taking part.
At a minute, the fine seems to be decided by the roll of the dice. So on that basis, I mean, that's going to be important if they haven't played. 50 to 200.
Codes.
This is a footballing one though, so probably will be less, won't it? I know I keep getting caught out by it, but I'm going 25 to 100 again. And I'm going to keep doing it till I get one right.
Well, guess what? You're correct, Daniel Code. It is 25 to £100.
That's happen eventually.
So for me, I'm sorry, this should be 0 because he hasn't broke the fucking rules, hasn't he? He hasn't played. He's not an eligible player. Okay, they could be got. Oh, do you know? Oh crap, he's not signed. I've had this problem. I know this. So he got okay, but yeah, all right, we won't play this. So that shouldn't really be a fine. It's not really. That's not a fine for me. Anyway, 3 to go. Failure to provide program information to opponents when playing away.
See, I'd have thought this would be on the lines of the digital streaming now, as you've got to have information for teams. 50 to 200. I'll stick with the standard for that.
Chai?
I can see where Dan's coming from. I think it's going to be big because of the fact that it's so important there for the content and the media and, tweeting out the lineups and stuff. 50 to 300.
So close, Charlie Betts. 75 to 300 pounds.
There it is.
Where's 75 quid come from?
The old favourite.
That's featured the whole episode. For goodness sake.
Right, two to go. Altering team sheet after exchange, except for player injured in the warm-up.
Oh.
Do you know what's annoying me? Was I listened to this the other day and I forgot what the numbers were.
Well, we haven't done this league before, so...
No, I meant as in like the rough guidelines of fine.
Oh, rough guidelines of fines.
I'm going to repeat the previous one. 75 to 300 because of the impact it has on their social media.
Guys.
I don't think it'll be as much because it's a footballing one, and the footballing ones are generally less. So I'm tempted between 50 to 200 and my old favourite 25 and 100. I'm going to go for 50 to 200.
Should have gone the other way. It's 25 to 100.
The football just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter.
This is up there with the corner.
This is the game where the football.
Just turn up with your sleeve, put it in the middle.
The other one that I was going to pick does have providing flags as a fine. And I know the reason why now because I actually read it in details. Right, last one. It's a failure to give notice of resignation by due date. And I know the due date in this one. It is the 31st of March.
Oh, wow.
We know these are huge, don't we?
Yeah.
Now, this always before used to shock us because it started at like 1,000, if I remember rightly. Between 1 to 4 and 1 to 5. 1 to 4.
Okay. Charlie?
Because of the level, normally I'd start around 500 quid, but because this is step 3 and 4.
Are you talking about one? Sorry, Coz, are you going about 100 to 400?
No, 1,000 to
1,000. Oh, right, okay.
So that's the response of a man who said you've just got that very wrong.
I'm going to go 750 to 5,000.
£1,000.
Oh.
Come on.
To £5,000.
No, I should have gone with
it. You went in between.
I've done that
He's gone down the middle.
You went in between.
Oh,
yeah, they are guest of fines from the Isthmian League. Final thoughts on those 10 fines, Charlie?
That's what I say is it's either there or not there for some of those. How can you have a range? That's my final thoughts on it. Just give a set fine. If you either got the board or you haven't got the board. End of story.
Codes.
It just proves what most other leagues have suggested before, which is the boardroom, the clerical, the admin, as you well know, Craig, is more important than what happens on the pitch, unfortunately. That's the way football's going.
Join us next time for another round of Guess the Fine, only here on the Ramble.
So obviously, the second half of the Ramble, we're going to be a bit more of an investigative piece, something that is probably BBC worthy or anything like that. But you mentioned earlier went to St Albans and we spoke so highly of the snacks and refreshments that are on offer. I can see Craig's face; he's going to love this already. Wait until you see some of the teams that I bring out. But it just led me down an investigation really of actually, in terms of across the EFL, how affordable is it? And thinking about going at Christmas time, there's a lot of money being spent on presents and stuff. If you go into a game over Christmas, which hopefully we can do, how much is it going to cost you to get a tea and a pie at a football ground? So what I've done is across later on, Craig, I've got some football trends of Europe, but we'll go through that in a minute. I'm not going to read out every team, obviously, but across the Championship, League One and League Two, I've got like the lows and the highs of I mean, some of them are ludicrous. I'm not going to lie to you now about how much it costs to get a tea and a pie. I mean, there is beer as well, but not the resource I had didn't have every ground. So where would you like to start? League Two or League One or Championship?
Well,
should we work the way up, maybe?
Okay. So we'll start with League Two and basically, Craig, your favourite club in League Two, Stevenage Borough actually proved to be the cheapest at getting a cup of tea from. It was only £1 for. Now I've got to say this is in the ground. Whatever's going on outside the ground, we're not legislating for. So that was the cheapest place. Most expensive place to get a tea in League Two, Walsall, £2.20.
Wow!
Just literally for a cup of tea.
What I will say is for Stevenage is are they actually using real tea bags?
Well, I assume. I mean, I don't know whether it comes in polystyrene cups or anything like that.
Oh, this is it because they've got to be environmental now. So
that's true.
Can't use too much plastic.
Cheapest place to get a pie in League Two was Rochdale, and that was £2 for a pie. But these are all like standard sort of pucker pies, all that kind of thing.
I've had a pie at
Now,
Rochester.
Can we guess League One? Let's have a guess League One.
Okay, well, hang on. I haven't told you the most expensive one in League Two because this happens to be the most expensive in the whole of the EFL.
Forest Green.
No, Harrogate, £4 for a pie at Harrogate.
But then their tickets are expensive as well, aren't they? It's a very affluent area.
£4 for a pie at Harrogate. I mean, that's significantly for League Two. That's significantly more expensive than any other club there, and pretty much, compared to even the Championship clubs, it's more expensive than all of them. It's the most expensive pie in the Football League is Harrogate. Right. So do you have a guess at a couple of these then?
Okay, go on. Yeah.
Okay. So for League One, right, cheapest place to get a tea, and actually you'll be surprised at this, but go on.
Cheapest place to have a tea in League One. I'm going to say, I'm going to say Ipswich actually.
No, definitely not Ipswich. No.
Ipswich is £2. I'm going big and I'm going north. I'm going Sunderland.
Sunderland is the most expensive in League One, £2.30.
Yeah, I was going to say.
the cheapest, believe it or not, is Fratton Park, Portsmouth, £1 for a cup of tea there.
Wow.
And ironically, Portsmouth actually are the cheap. I'm giving away the next answer, but they're the cheapest if you want to do a combination of the two. So how much do you think their pies are? They're cheapest in League One if you were to do a combo.
£2.50.
So what was the cheapest tea for Portsmouth?
Tea was £1.
Oh, tea was £1. You're saying £2.50. If they're gonna, I'll probably say it was about £2.
£2.20 for a pie. So a combination.
I was going to say £2.20.
£3.20 for a pie and a tea, which is actually cheaper than most teams in League Two, believe it or not, and obviously the cheapest in League One. The most expensive. Now these two, obviously, I've given you the tea, which was Sunderland. Where do you think the most expensive pie is in League One?
Chef Wednesday.
Nope.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
It's very hard not looking at the league table.
No,
I tell you what, Charlton food was quite high, so I'm going to go for Charlton.
London.
Charlton is very expensive. It's not the most expensive. It's Charlton is £3.60. Believe it or not, it's the Priestfield Stadium, Gillingham, £3.80 for a pie at Gillingham.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's
ridiculous, isn't it? Unbelievable. So obviously Portsmouth for the combo. Now I've got three sort of stats for you here. So in terms of the Championship, where do you think the cheapest cup of tea is?
Not Luton, because I bought one on Saturday.
Luton's one of the cheap ones, though. Luton's one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The cheap
Luton.
ones for the Championship.
Peterborough.
It's not Peterborough. No.
Good shout. I'm trying to think.
What did you buy? What did you buy in Blackpool?
What did I buy in the ground? I don't think I bought any in the ground. There were a lot of bovrils going about because people wanted to keep their hands warm because it was absolutely frozen. I am going to go for possibly a northern club nearer the bottom of the table, like a Barnsley or Huddersfield. Barnsley, I'm going to go.
It's not Barnsley, unfortunately. The actual correct answer was Sheffield United. Bramall Lane, £1.60 for a cup of tea.
Right region.
Most expensive cup of tea in the Championship.
What London clubs? QPR. Got to be
QPR. It's got to be QPR.
Based on the tickets.
QPR actually 20p less than Pride Park, Derby County, £2.30. We're obviously now trying to fund maybe.
Did you not buy a cup of tea at Pride Park as well, guys?
I didn't. I did buy a duo chocolate bar. Non-restrict at Pride Park.
Derby are not the most expensive for pies, but not far off it. Where do you think the most expensive? Go for the most expensive pie is in Football League and Championship. Sorry,
he's leading me down to think that's Forest now, based on that.
But you didn't,
not Forest.
No, because you didn't buy anything in Forest. Did you buy anything in Forest?
No,
because it sold out by the time.
Reasonable,
but it sold out by the time we got to
Forest is £3.20. They're reasonable for Championship.
Championship. Championship.
I just assume QPR for everything because they're so expensive. Oh, what about now? Maybe Fulham.
Correct. £3.90 for a pie at Fulham.
Cheaper than Watford.
Cheaper than Watford. Yeah, it's cheaper than Watford actually. Least expensive pie in Championship. I'll give you a clue. You've got to go north for this.
I'll go north. Who's north? Preston.
Is incorrect. They are the second least expensive at £2.80.
If we're going region, I should really have looked at the prices when I was at
This is least. Is this the least, you say?
Least, yeah. Least expensive.
Oh, it's close then. That was close. Blackburn.
Not Blackburn, no.
I'll just throw myself in for Blackpool.
Blackpool is correct, Dan. I was going to say it was a trick question.
Why didn't I get one? I was so cold.
You were there.
£2.50 for a pie there, actually. So there you go. The highest combination, as you'd expect, is Fulham because a combined tea and pie is £6.10. Which is ridiculous, really, when you think about it, for a cup of tea. £2.20 for a cup of tea and £3.90 for a pie. So there you go. The most expensive cup of tea in the Football League is Pride Park, which is Derby, and the most expensive pie is Harrogate at £4. So,
I will say is that Derby are desperate for money. So it doesn't surprise me that they're the most expensive pie.
Well, let me end now to about European football. This isn't a quiz, but I'm just going to share some of the highlights of, like the way that we would traditionally eat a pie or bother or something like that at English football. I've just gone through some European countries. So Croatia, they have seeds and peanuts, which is actually what would be their go-to snack when you're at a football match. So each to their own, I suppose. Denmark have a stadium platter. Now theirs is a bit more gourmet. It's 2 sausages with ketchup and mustard in a bread roll. So that would be their go-to snack.
It's a hot dog.
Basically a hot dog.
It's a hot dog.
One of my favourites, though, because it's so cold, was Estonia, because what they do is they get soup with some garlic bread and some beef jerky on top. So that's their snack in Estonia. The Faroe Islands is brilliant because they don't really do snacks. What they do is, because the league isn't the most affluent, is they send out the youth team, and the youth team sell sweets to the supporters, and then the money goes back into the youth setups of the club, which is actually quite a nice thing to do. So get the youth lads out there running around. Obviously, France, you get loads of different ones, but mainly things like a thin pancake wrapped with a pork sausage in the middle of it, which just sounds a bit bizarre for football to me, to be honest. Greece they have something called a filthy, which is basically a filthy kebab, which is bread, bratwurst, kebab meat, French fries, mustard and mayo, all in one big wrap.
Sign me up.
So I thought Greece would be your second to last one, which I thought you'd like, is Portugal, which is basically a bacon sandwich, which I think seems like a decent enough snack to eat at a football match. And then Dan, obviously on Football Manager, you managed in San Marino. Do you know what their go-to snack is when you go and watch a live game?
Wouldn't even know where to start, but I'm guessing it'll be meat-based again.
It's a flatbread filled with cheese, hams, and various vegetables. So if you're ever to catch it in San Marino, you need to get something called a piandina, which is that. So there you go. That is football, Craig, off the back of our trip to St Albans. I know that's a favourite of yours. So
you've gone from a shortbread to something from San Marino.
Yeah, it's a shortbread to a piandana. Which
you can't discredit the lad for research, can you? And what he's basically
how did I know this was coming?
He's throwing you a curveball, Craig. He wants to get out a Guess the Fine so badly, he's creating Guess the Pie instead.
Guess the Pie.
Guess the Pie.
And we finish our festive ramble with something else that's not Christmassy whatsoever. It is You're the Ref, the chance for you two lads to be a referee in some unique and flabbergasting football situations. And you are going to describe what you would do if you're the ref, and we're going to compare that to referee extraordinaire Keith Hackett, who has only threatened to sue us once and not for the last 2 years. So 3 scenarios. You two are going to take it in turns. We've done about 20 of these before, but not for a long time. So I'm looking forward to the animation.
I'm on a good run. I'm on a good run of this at the moment, to be honest.
You were unbeaten in absolutely ages, but that's because you got to 1-0 up and then went to the corner flag by going as similar to Charlie's answers.
You did.
And there's evidence of that on the channel. But of course, as you know, in the famed You're the Ref scenarios, each 3 scenarios are related to a specific player. And this week, we're taking a blast from the past to a German legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Ballack. And these 3 do not relate to him whatsoever, unless they're calling him injury prone, which we might see later on. But are you ready for number 1?
Yeah, what's the drawing of Michael Ballack like?
Yeah, can we see a drawing?
Very, very good Michael Ballack there.
That's actually probably his best work.
Exceptional. On to scenario number 1. This one is already described as bizarre in the first sentence. So here we go. In a bizarre move, the away team, facing a penalty, put a defender in goal. They say he's a penalty saving specialist, so they've swapped the goalkeeper and the defender. Craig's laughing already, that bodes well. He swaps shirts with the keeper, makes the save, and kicks the ball upfield. Okay, with us so far? Defender's gone in goal, he saved the penalty, he's cleared it downfield. But the ball, without going out of play, is eventually hoofed back again and falls to the striker who missed the penalty, who shoots, the keeper saves it, but you then realise as referee, it was the original keeper, not the defender, who's gone in goal. They must have re-swapped shirts. What do you do?
Oh, I like this. This is interesting.
It's a very different one to what we've had before.
Because I don't think I've ever seen a defender be a penalty saving expert, let alone
Stephen Taylor.
let alone Bournemouth having a centre circle expert on scoring goals. If you saw the Championship prediction the other week. I
think I reckon, because Keith Hackett,
there's no
all my opinions of him, he's gonna have a poppers. Every single episode he has a poppers in the comment. So I think he's gonna already say you shouldn't have let him swap, and then the whole thing becomes redundant. I think that's the curveball here, is that he's gonna have said you shouldn't have let them swap in the first place without your permission or something stupid like that. and then basically lambast us.
I think he's going to give another penalty here, unless the striker's offside. I think he's going to give another because technically he's still thinking the goalkeeper that's now the defender is a defender still, and he's handled the ball. So I'm going to say penalty and probably get a card for the goalkeeper, even though it's ridiculously stupid.
I'll tell you something that's interesting here is both of you have firstly gone for answers I didn't expect. And you've both not even got to the second part of the question. You're both
wait,
certain.
what was the second part of the question? Oh, yeah, because he's still technically, because his ball's still in play. That's what I'm saying.
So are you both in agreement that the swap shouldn't have happened initially? Or are you saying that's fine?
I'm saying the swap was allowed, but because the ball didn't go out to play, the defender's still technically the goalkeeper.
And Charlie?
I'm going to regret this answer, but I think it's a bit like when a player enters the field of play without permission. So he's going to be getting some bookings. Part of me thinks does he void the whole thing and has to go back to the penalty? So everything that happened afterwards is completely redundant.
Because the ball stopped, didn't it? The ball's out of place. So technically, he can't swap players.
He's going to book the goalkeeper and the defender for swapping and void everything that happened after that. Handballs, ball getting pumped upfield, the whole lot. And the penalty is going to be retaken because technically they didn't ask for his permission and therefore the game hasn't restarted.
Yeah, but what if he's injured?
But I don't know if they told him. I think it's because they done it without your permission. As Keith is probably going to patronisingly tell us.
I feel a little bit conflicted here because in all of the detail, Charlie Betts is so often right. But the correct answer, the long and short of it is Craig Savage's answer is correct. But all of the details Charlie's mentioned, the add-ons, are appropriate. So you're going to have to bear with me because this is one hell of a paragraph. So as Craig mentioned, they are allowed to swap shirt and change places at any time when the ball is out of play, as long as they've notified the official. So what they did for the initial penalty, there is nothing wrong with whatsoever. They informed the referee, they changed. You can do that any penalty in real life. So any Sunday League teams, you've got a centre half who's a good shot stopper. There's your game. Next one. The player with the keeper's jersey is the only player allowed to handle the ball. So the swapping back is where we get to the issue. The first part's gone, that's fine. The ball has not gone out of play since the penalty, which is the crucial aspect here. As a result, the ball's not out of play. They can't have asked for permission. There is no consent to swap the shirts back, which means the only player who can handle the ball was the goalkeeper when the penalty was taken, which is the defender, of course. So Craig Savage is absolutely right on that front. However, Charlie is right when the yellow card book starts coming out, because Keith Hackett loves the yellow card. And you've been a bit lenient here, and Keith's going to tell you off because he wants both of them to get a booking. Who are you only booking one for? He wants both of the people because they've both swapped shirts without your permission. They're both getting a yellow card.
Well, technically, it is either a card offence to take your shirt off.
The bit I like best about Keith's answer is the next thing you might be wondering, as you guys mentioned, is it going to be a retake and penalty? How are we going to restart play? Well, Keith's cleared that up for us. Restart play in an appropriate manner.
Oh, for goodness sake, Keith. So is it a handball or not? So is it a penalty again then?
Yeah, so how does that work out? It's got to be a penalty.
Deliberate handball, he's handballed it.
It's called a cop-out is what it's called.
Basically, he's bottled it.
Well, we know that about Keith anyway. But anyway, that's another story.
Moving on to question 2. I think I have to give that to Craig, unfortunately.
100%. Yeah.
I was going to say give Charlie half the point for the second.
No.
He didn't get a quarter of a point. It would have been half he got both the other cards, but he got one of them. So a quarter of a point. Number 2, we're coming into physiotherapy details here, which something we haven't seen before. And this is very niche. Something that might affect Craig if he's a makeshift physio and a makeshift player.
I've actually got to do the first aid course again.
Well, this one is something that could occur with you depending on what sort of fouls you commit in real life compared to your Pro Evolution Soccer 2 days. So, late in a lower league relegation battle, the physio comes on to treat a player. But you notice he appears to be passing on tactical advice. We like the rabbit hole this is going down. You take a closer look and realise the physio is a player you sent off earlier. He says he's also the club's assistant physio, which means he's allowed back onto the pitch despite being sent off. What do you do?
So I wasn't at this game, but Crawley, the first team, had a game against Dunstable Town, and the linesman gave a shocking decision. Obviously, I think it might say it was a goal, wasn't a goal. So the managers said something on the sideline. So the referee's gone over and sent off the physio. Now, you can't send off the physio because in case of a Clayton's treatment, and the guy that sat down, even though he didn't say a word, he goes, "I'm the physio." He goes, "Yep, go off to get out the dugout." I'll let Charlie go first in this one because I think
that's a very Keith answer. I've got it. You're getting in the spirit.
I think the tactical advice is a red herring. The fact that the player's been sent off means he shouldn't be on the pitch. And don't you, and correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, even at any level, don't you have to name a physio on a team sheet? Like if you're doing a team sheet, you have to name the physio. So if his name wasn't on there, he's then entered the field of play illegally, and he shouldn't even be on there anyway because he's sent off. So I think you have to, not eject him. I don't know what the word is. I don't know. Do you send him off again? He's already been sent off. I think you just have to ask him to leave the field of play and make sure that he's whatever I don't know, is it a certain distance he needs to be away or sent back to the changing rooms or something like that. He certainly can't be on the pitch any longer. That's my sum of it all. So for me, he has to get off immediately because A, he's already been sent off, and B, if he wasn't named as a physio beforehand, then he shouldn't be on the pitch.
Craig?
Yeah, he'd probably get sent off again, knowing him. He'd definitely get a bigger ban. And I think the referee will have that in his match report after the game. He might have to find probably another person to be physio.
But he said he's the assistant physio, which must mean he already have a physio.
So where's the original physio?
Yeah.
To be fair, I'd probably give him a little bit of tactics and as physio.
Yeah,
that's not the point, but I'm the manager.
You were named physio, probably. I
was named physio. But yeah, I think you might have to. You can't book the player because he's injured. That's not his fault. Yeah, you might probably have to book the manager as well because he's probably sent him back out again.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned a big thing that I didn't, which is the match report, and Keith loves the match report.
He loves his after the game stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
Well, I can confirm, rather disappointingly, I would say on this occasion, there is no mention of the match report, and I'm as surprised as you two by that.
Oh,
however,
we're doing more than Keith.
You are doing more than Keith, and weirdly, you both couldn't be much more wrong, unfortunately, which very rarely happens in You're the Ref, because to be fair to you, you've both normally got great knowledge, but this is very niche. So, Craig, little tip for the future, because you might be able to use this one now. This isn't an ideal situation, is Keith's opening statement. Now, I think we can all agree on that. That's something that's not up for debate.
Well, it's kind of obvious, Keith.
His second statement is just as true, which is you need to be sure of the facts, right? So we're getting much, much clearer here at this stage. First of all, something that Craig mentioned in his answer, the player is the assistant physio. So you need to check if the physio in his or her presence is available and call them on if that option is there. But you would assume the assistant physio coming on, that's not always the case. If the physio is not available and you've only got the assistant, you have to prioritize the care of players. How many times? Safety first. Safety first. So you should allow the assistant to carry on. Clubs do use an injury to players to pass on tactics. So the referee cannot intervene.
I thought the tactic was a red herring. I'm surprised that you're just allowed to let him carry on there. But he's been sent off.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's been sent off.
I think the thing is, but surely as the ref, you've waved on the physio. I mean, have you not noticed? Surely he was still in his kit or something. That's maybe he got changed after he was sent off.
It depends on if the first physio is busy with someone else.
Yeah,
there could be two of the same players. Yeah.
But
he's reeled us in there, didn't he?
Essentially, the care of players supersedes a red card. Essentially, if the assistant physio is also all the physios that matter is.
If he's that injured, why is he giving him tactics for crying out loud? Anyway,
on to the final one, and look, I think we've covered a few things. We've covered set pieces, we've covered physiotherapy, but we haven't covered financial difficulties. But we did mention Derby earlier on, so let's go. And how we've got it in You're the Ref.
Well, we did the guess the fine earlier.
Exactly.
Lovely segue.
Well, we're going back to it again, Craig, because number 3, the home team, whose club are in financial difficulty, haven't been paid for several weeks. So we've got players that aren't being paid at the moment, okay? As the opposition kick off to start the game, the whole team sits down in protest over their lack of pay, allowing the other team to run through and score continuously unchallenged. You give the goal the first time, the home team kick off and then sit down. The team sit down again to allow a second goal to go in. What do you do?
This feels like a Barry Fry Barnett episode.
Go on, Craig. You go first. Well, you do your little thing.
You've got to hold on to your lead.
Take it to the corner. Let's go. No, I think you've got to let it go. Carry on, because they're still in the middle of play. Well, they're still on the pitch. It's not like they walked off. They just sat down or whatever they're doing. So play on, as you like to have it.
Yes, he's got it in there.
Cue the clip.
Yeah.
Harley.
Yeah,
Well-
I think you got to let it go.
Well, I vaguely remember, actually, I don't vaguely, I remember listening to it not long ago. We did a ramble. You know, I used to do those really rubbish stories. What were they called? Tales of the Unexpected. There was the odd good one, but
There was
most of
something
them
like this, wasn't there?
Well, there was. It was to do with I think it was the Mauritian Premier League or something like that, where basically the previous week a team had been shafted, in their opinion, by the referee, which meant they couldn't win the league. So out of protest in the next game, they lost 168-0 or something crazy like that by basically doing the same thing. They just, anytime it was their kickoff, they just kicked the ball back to the goalkeeper who kicked in his own net, and the referee couldn't do anything. So I'm using that as a precedence to basically say that, as Craig famously said, play on, and I think you just have to let them do it. The only thing I would say is, in terms of they're sitting down, I assume they're kicking off first rather than just sitting there and wasting time, because obviously I don't know what you do then if they, if they don't even kick off. Like, what do you do then?
I'm assuming that they would just kick it to them and then just sit down. And
Yeah, what I'm saying is, to add an extra layer to this, what do you do if they don't kick it to them? So say it's goal number 19 and they just sit down instead of kicking off. What do we do then? But anyway, I don't know. But I think you have to let them play on. I know Keith's sarcastically going to tell us that, but go on.
Well, yeah, also the other team can't kick it, can't touch it until...
Yeah. So what do you do if they play funny games? I don't know. Let's see if Keith mentions that.
Well, we've got an interesting one here, because in number 2, you both said you need to intervene and you couldn't. Here, you've both very clearly said that you can't intervene, and you should be, according to Keith.
Why should we intervene? Why?
He is very short, sweet, and clear on this answer, which we can't often accuse Keith of, so we need to be frank. Let's have a look at the very short 4-line response, which is: speak to the team captain and warn them that if they continue to carry out their protest, you will abandon the game at 3-0. So once it gets to 3, you abandon it. And after mentioning it the second time, you've really let yourselves down. Report the facts to the competition in your match report. How did everybody mention that?
Well, I mentioned report in the second round and this round, but
I don't understand.
Okay,
that.
it'll get boring after 2-3-0. Let's be brutally honest. I get their point, but it's not the opposition's team's fault.
It's like, what ground can you abandon it on? You know, if you decide to play a formation of 1-2-7, no, that's not wrong. 1-2-7 would work.
Charlie's still a teacher, everyone, just to let you know.
if you decide to
manager in a while,
1-2-7 scores coming to a town near you.
Like, if you decide to do that, that's your prerogative as a manager. If you get pumped 25-0, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see actually how you can, you know, what rule they're breaking by just sitting down.
Can the game carry on if they were standing up? Because they
That's a very good point. It's a very good point.
They stand there, don't move. Kick it to them, and it just stands
like 5-a-side. Sorry, table football. Just go
do that. Yes, do that.
I will endeavour for the next ramble to find the answer out for that one for you.
That's incredible. Yeah, I don't. I've got to be honest. I know
Keith just wants to get in early and get his 35 quid.
I think Keith was worried about the word count in this one. Unfortunately, no, it's easy just to say that you need to put it in your match report. I can't see how you can abandon it.
It ran out of numbers on his little book.
For me,
I think he'd used up all his space for the answer to number 1, unfortunately, which meant he had to get a quick answer. Unfortunately, we have got an incredibly disappointing 1-0 win for Craig Savage, which he'll be delighted with. It's his favourite score in football. Back again,
the unbeaten run's still going.
It wasn't the highest quality, you're the ref, but an incredibly niche one.
It was rustiness. It's rustiness. That's what I'm going to say. 2022 is coming up. What are you expecting from football? Let's start off with Charlie Betts.
Well, hopefully an AFCON that goes ahead, because that's a firm favourite of mine in January. No, it's a good tournament to watch. And I do actually enjoy it. It's normally on channels that are fairly free to air. So, yeah, I think hopefully that goes ahead. But, you know, just try and get to... Obviously, with everything that's going on, it'd be nice if we can still keep going to football, because it does make a massive difference to people's well-being, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. So wherever you can find it, just keep going to football, whether it's all the way down to grassroots up to the championship. Let's go as far as that. So, yeah, football.
Coates?
Yeah, much the same. A few more 1-minute videos from us at the end of games that we've gone to watch would be lovely. And hopefully, if all has gone well and this goes down well, this time next year, sitting here doing World Cup rambles, because it will be November and December next year. It's the final, like just before Christmas, isn't it?
The week before Christmas. Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe a weekend special for that one. But yeah, more of the same.
And how about you, Craig?
I'd hope the non-league football calendar carries on. The last 2 seasons they've stopped for COVID, and it's highly frustrating being a non-league manager at whatever level to start and stop. I haven't, as a manager, I've not had a full season yet, so it'd be nice to complete one without getting a sack. So
it's amazing that.
And this is the 3rd season for me. Obviously everyone keeping safe, and as I said, mental health is a key thing, and if people can go to the football, people still talk about football, even if just watching on TV. That's the main thing. Everyone's keeping safe in that. And that is it for our ramble of 2021. We hope you enjoy this. We probably might do this on a monthly basis, depending on our availability. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football Free. And we wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy 2022.